said, see ya. I was done, and I was going for divorce. And then who should come by? His mother and father. And he goes crying to them. And he's like, Melissa left me, and she left me without a car. And because his Camaro or Firebird was up on a block because the engine was gone. And he's like, she left me. So he calls his mommy and daddy. Here it is again, right? Same thing he's doing. He calls them, Melissa left me. I have no transportation. And that's because I think at the time, my Aries. I think it was my Aries. So he's like, she left me. My dad co-signed for that, by the way. And so they come over. He's like, I don't even have food in the home. And she left me. And so he was working at the grist mill right down the road from Princeton Street, where we're living. He could have easily biked over there. He could have easily gone to the local store right down the block, but instead he calls his mommy and daddy. And they're like, they got in our business again, and they're like, what's going on and everything. And he played this victim story. So next thing I know, I see this, I'm in hairdressing school, and I see this note on my car. Melissa, I want you back. He's like, if you, he already told me if I married him, he would treat me as good as gold. Then I hear, I'm so sorry, let's just work it out. I want you back, da 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 da. Now, I had already moved on with a guy I had dated before I married him. This was another guy. So I wasn't sure about whether I wanted to have a relationship with this guy. We went out, to the Shogun, da-da-da, Japanese place, and he liked me a lot. And I also had, at Beefside Restaurant where I was working, I had a detective who was very interested in dating me. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just heartbroken over Ben. All I could talk about was Ben when he dumped me. And that's, so that's not a real good dating relationship, right? And he's like, I can tell you're still in love with him. It's too bad. I would really like to date you. And I look back and thinking about that, yeah, I probably could have had a lot of opportunities with other guys to have things differently. So anyways, his parents get in our business, and they're like, they're putting me down because I left without even knowing anything. And then, so he leaves this note on my car. He doesn't have a vehicle. He goes down in Concord Academy of Hair Design on, North Main Street then? They're not around anymore. So he's like, I don't have a car. I don't have a vehicle. His friend Charlie took him over there. I came out of hairdressing school, and I'm telling you, we were done because I was already with this guy. I mean, it was quick. I can't believe how quick it was for me. Like a week? And I left, and I'm like already dating this guy. I look back, ladies, and I'm like, what the heck were you thinking, Melissa? What were you thinking? It was just, like I said, just, transactional. So I'm kind of dating this guy, and then he, because I thought I made a mistake. I thought I made a mistake marrying him. So he's like, I want you back. I don't care, if you left. I don't care if you're seeing someone else, whatever. I want you back, and da-da-da. So we talked it out. I was honest with him. I said I had already been with somebody else, and da-da-da. And I never regretted it. Never. And that is because he was being such a jerk to me. So sometimes once you marry a guy, they get you. They feel like, okay, the chase is not on anymore. I got her. So, plus what he did to me before, I felt like even Steven, So from there, we were able to work things out. And from there, I had gotten pregnant with my firstborn son. And like I said, the whole dating thing was a mess for me. And then I got saved shortly after that. And that's what changed my life. And this is why I love God so much, guys. Because I was a mess. I didn't know whether I was like, relationships, all that brokenness and all the relationships. I'm like trying to find direction, trying to find the right guy, no real direction on dating. And I had to learn the hard way, as they say. So, I had pulled him out of that whole garbage with him hanging around with the wrong crowd, drinking marijuana, all he was doing, and then he had pulled me out of the whole garbage, that I was in. And then we just like, Rocky and Adrian, we just, you know, filled each other's gaps, is I guess how you want to say it. So from there, when I became a Christian and I worked on me and only me, I was like, okay, how to love God. Who's God? Because I had like this view of God, like he was just this mean God sitting up in heaven punishing me, right? So I had mentorship there. I had mentorship with parenting. I had classes, and I redid everything. And a lot of times we think, I can't talk today, we think, well, if I do this, this method works or that method works. But I got to the root of a lot, the root of it. And that's what you have to do. And then when you're dealing with post-abortive care, you also have to get to the root of it. Like, what was the thinking and what happened? So from there, we were good. We were really good. We got along great. We had our second born, got along great. Third son, everything was great. Then his parents start meddling again in our marriage and say, oh, you ought to divorce her and all this stuff, because we had gotten behind with him not even working half the time because he had cancer. You ought to divorce her, without even knowing I'm pinching pennies and have 3 underfoot. So they were awful, awful. So there was a time that I did feel like my mother-in-law was like a mom to me. There was a time for that. And then once I became a Christian, she turned against me, and I was just like, okay, she's not that woman anymore that I thought she was. So, so then, like I said, my husband had cancer. I went through that with him, and they didn't want to be bothered. I think they went to the hospital once, thought the whole thing was fake. This was a 9-hour surgery. It was extremely serious, and I had 2 with me underfoot and pregnant with our third, and going to the hospital and taking care of a husband who had cancer and homeschooling. So, I had my hands full. And then we went on from there, and we had 2 more, and everything was good. I took a Grace for the Wounded class. That was great. And then I took a post-abortive care class. That was great, up until that was cut off. But anyways, I did that, and then the trailer was caving in. I was working. The trailer was caving in, so we got a new place. All was good up until the very end. And then he just couldn't take the stress or something. I don't know. So anyways, that's my story. That's the story I'm sticking with. And yeah, so here we go again. So he leaves me and he runs to mommy and daddy again. And that's the way it is. So I had a couple comments on here that said, this person's like not harassing me, but they're being a pain in my butt. And they're like, oh, you're such a hypocrite. Would Jesus act the way you are? I don't know what to say, What else am I supposed to say? If you are not happy being married, then go find someone else. It's that simple. If you are not happy, take your bull crap and go live with your parents, or go let them buy you a house or whatever. It is not on me. And he used to say, Melissa, I'm so sorry. I've treat you like you're my punching bag or whatever. That toxic behavior, that I've had to put up with. And of course, I love my husband, so you put up with it. I had talked to a girl at work, and she was I didn't say much at the time, but she was getting beaten. She's like, he gives me a beating all the time. If a guy talks to me, I get a beating. So I had to tell a guy not to even talk to me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I just numb out. That's what I do. I just numb out because I get a beating from him. I'm like, you need to leave. You need to, seriously leave. He needs some help. And she's like, I love him. And I'm like, that ain't love. That's not love. So the point is, a lot of women in the past have put up with a lot. And then, there comes a point that you're like, I'm not putting up with your bull anymore. I'm just not putting up with it. So if he's not happy with you, it's actually himself he's not happy with. and he takes it out on you, don't take that personally. Just say, go ahead and move on. And if this woman who's trying to get between us, you'd rather be with her, good luck. Good luck to you. But as far as divorce, fight for your rights, ladies. Fight for those. And I am keeping my name, and I'm keeping Mrs. too, because that's my name, Mrs. So I'm keeping that, and I'm keeping a lot of things that he's trying to take away. So that's what I got for now. This is my long video, and this is basically, you know, when another woman's trying to get in there, if he can't be man enough to tell her, you know, hey, I'm married, go screw yourself. I know what you're trying to do. I can see through it. You know, you're lonely. You've got a kid. You're lonely. You know, they always go for the money. And my neighbor Mary told me a story years ago. She was an older woman I looked after, and she was like in her 70s. And she says, my father came into an inheritance, and I think it was from his parents too. And so he dumped my mother. So he was going to the bar, and he was hanging out with another woman. They were having an affair and everything. And she said, in the end, and this will be my husband's future, in the end, he was sorry. In the end, she took all his money. He was left with nothing. And she's like, guess who he wanted to come back to? My mother. This is the way the story always goes, guys. When a guy thinks there's another woman who likes him, she takes his money, leaves him for nothing, and he always regrets it. And I had people say to me at my different jobs, Melissa, you know he's going to regret this, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for him to figure that out. So don't just let him go, guys. Let him go. Don't. I saw this coming when, you know, we're at the house, and he's like, I'm going to have the house without you. And I'm thinking, really? Really? You think you are, don't you? Or I don't want to be married anymore. Really? So you already see it coming, and you already know to put up those boundaries so that you don't get hurt, guys. And all through this divorce, 18 months, I've kept it real business-like. I really have. And other than one time, I thought maybe he was dying, you know, and that was care for him. Before it was from the shock and grief of my marriage, and now me fighting is for me, and only for me, and eventually my sons. But do it for you, ladies, because he just doesn't care about you.